I think we've finally been able to resolve what is actually causing a delay. Engineer Femi, can you see me?
Yes, I can see you now. My video is back. Everything is
great
now.
Because I was myself worried when I couldn't see you. I was thinking perhaps, you know, this is the age of artificial intelligence. Perhaps who knows whether the AI has adopted you and taken you to Mars for you guys to start up another real estate business over there.
No.
I'm going to be calling on Mr. Dotun. Is he in the house?
Sorry, Stephen, is it possible that we start again to make the recording very, very good? Because
absolutely.
So I can retake the question. Yeah,
absolutely. We have to do that because this is being recorded and it's going globally. We want to make sure that we're able to capture every single idea, every single expression, every single market intelligence, which yourself and the rest of your panelists are actually sharing with us. So I can see our moderator back. Want to say a big thank you for your patience. And these are some of the challenges we have to confront, especially with this COVID-19 aftermath. But we know that it's a wonderful opportunity. That we know certainly that there is no other compromise in that regard. So my dear moderator, we will have to start from the scratch so that we have everything recorded. This is a wonderful suggestion by one of our sponsors, Alpha Mid Group, so that I'm going to be giving back to you. Although there is a thought that I hope perhaps they might put together in their response, which has to do, what's the difference between the tenement rate and the land use charge? I mean, do I have to pay that twice? Perhaps this should be coming up in the question and answer session, but I guess it can help them to be able to, of course, throw more light on that. So over to you, Mr.
Okay. Okay, yes. You said that question should come after, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to throw that in. So I guess they can look at that. Yes.
Fund, trillion naira. The total amount of money they put into real estate related investment that year was 220 billion. That's just about 2%. It's not adequate. And if pension funds are not investing in real estate, where is the fund? Where is the money going to come? Where is the long-term funding going to come from? So that's a key issue. But we should also ask ourselves, why are we not having enough people investing in real estate? Number one, real estate is seen as can do. It's also believed that the enabling environment for real estate investment in Nigeria is very, very uncertain and is not properly well constituted real estate investment. Also, the issue about confidence on the valuation and how it impacts the risk that investors take in real estate is also a key concern to investors. And of course, the bureaucracy of land ownership and everything. So for availability of fund is really, really a serious constraint. Now, when the fund is not available, accessibility is also the next constraint. And these are the bottlenecks that have been created by real estate financing as a key issue in how to move home ownership forward in Nigeria. So accessibility is about how the people who need to provide, that's on the demand side, and on the supply side, how are they funded is very high. When you look at how easy is it for you to approach a bank or any other investor to take mortgage, people are taking mortgage at a rate that is comparable to commercial rate. For developers, we're also not focusing in that area well enough. Developers are not well funded in this country. Therefore, I feel that housing finance on how I think we have to connect the more connected. A lot of lenders, technology is there to as supplier creative way, and it says credit respect. the mortgage and to improve properly in the industry. You want to that are contributing to this fund, they are the people that will need it eventually. Why do we concentrate so much on their head? Why can government not make it mandatory and put a particular percentage that pension fund must make available? Because it is the same people who are contributing this money that need it. And when you provide this money to them, to be chasing an electrician to come and build a house for them. I mean, one of my lecturers recently was complaining about not having a roof over his head, and he has retired, a professor, after almost 40-something years of serving the government. He was my lecturer 45 years ago in the university. Today, he has no roof over his head. So these are situations we see, and we as developers are trying everything post money early enough. Another part is insurance. Insurance is a business of risk. So why are they taking so much money? There's enough for them to make. We are able to put a government policy in place that enables them to reinvest part of those funds.
Thank you very much, Engineer Akinwale. Indeed, you've cut across so many things we could be discussing today, but very vital contributions. You've really talked about the challenges for housing finance. You mentioned the illiquid perception of housing. You also mentioned low yield and also stringent access to funding. And you, in fact, went ahead to making mortgage banks more liquid through assessment. And you also went on to say that there should be laws regulating housing funds, also insurance funds, to because housing is a long-term has a long-term returns platform. Therefore, this I think you've really been able to explain it. But let me quickly go to Mr. I don't know, Mr. Femi. I don't know if he's here or brought to fore from what we are discussing here before now. And the number of things assess what tools can be explored in ability to mortgage for those who. Mr. Dedai, are you with us? Wow. Is Mr. Dedai with us? Maybe you should unmute yourself if you are still you have to unmute yourself, Mr. Dedai. Okay, the dialogue between Mr. Femi Akintunde and I, if we're not getting responses from the other, come across a number of being on our own platform at the summit before to talk about your work. And I want us to critically issue of affordable housing. If these things are made available, if these funds are made available, let's quantify them to be something you can refer to, because these are long returns. You can get returns on investment on these ones over a long period of time, because the person putting his pension is not looking at giving you commercial loan and all that. The pension fund is releasing it, and they're going to make returns over a period of time, so that at the end of the day, the pensioner can enjoy some benefits. If let's quantify these ones as affordable housing, you get adequate funding for housing. Does it mean that we now have a guarantee based on the fact that you know the cost of developing housing. You have your own housing projects as a developer here and there.
Provision of quality infrastructure, especially roads, where you have land located somewhere and there is no accessible road to the place, is a big problem. So how do people access where they will have land to build? It's a challenge. So whether you have money to build or not, developers spend a lot of money in constructing roads by themselves today. Every other infrastructure that we have to provide to support housing development, we have to spend on it, and yet we pay tax. And yet we believe government has a responsibility to provide this infrastructure: water, sewage system, power. For these reasons, you cannot say that the problem of rural-urban migration will not continue. So when we talk of housing gap, it's an imbalance, because if you go to the villages, there are so many houses there that are vacant. People are not living there. So why are we talking about housing gap? It only happens in the city, in the urban area. So if we solve the problem of connectivity of cities and towns, you will discover that people can afford to live in Ibadan and come to office in Lagos. Within 1 hour, 1.5 hours, they are in their office. But today, because of the overconcentration, high traffic, you can leave the island and spend 4 hours on the road before you get to Ikeja. So some of these problems, we create them by ourselves. Then the other issue is the macroeconomic factors. We are in an environment where we are consuming more than we are producing. And for that reason, there's a lot of pressure on the local currency. Our foreign exchange is under immense pressure. And that also has added to the cost of construction for developers. Interest rates makes your funding high. When we're also talking of issue about how do developers function, how do we survive under this very harsh economic environment to continue to produce quality housing that people can buy at reasonable rate. Developer constraints includes infrastructure, like I've said, access to quality land with quality title, Capacity to raise capital is a major issue for developers. Cost of input materials is very, very high. And we're also talking about quality hands in terms of artisans that work for us. Most of our technical colleges have been converted to secondary schools. Polytechnics have been converted to universities. We do not have sufficient hands to support the construction industry. So
thank you very
that
much,
is another major challenge for us. And I believe that these are factors that beyond financing, we are also dealing with as developers.
Well, thank you very much. I want to say that this issue is inexhaustible if we have to continue to dwell on several angles and several questions that have been applied for today. But I quickly want to put out some things, and I would like your brief comment on this. You have mentioned key things about the economic factor, and that is we import a lot, and therefore the capacity of our currency, the naira, to the countries where we're importing from is insufficient to sustain the kind of demand we have here. But it's not just that. I'm also looking at the issue of the earning capacity of the ordinary Nigerian to have affordable housing in the midst of all of this. That is a key and major issue. And that's why you see in some cases, you have some people who just build something in the mushroom. And that's why you say that, oh, there are people that have houses in the village. Some even go to the extent of building houses. You see someone living in Songwater and works at Aja. It's because of what he can earn. Yes, he must have a house, a roof over his head, and still be able to travel. And that comes to the issue of infrastructure. Where are the rails? If we keep talking about the fact that we are building more roads and we don't improve our infrastructure to the level of having rail networks across all the cities, across all the states, across local government, taking action, but action must be taken. I think that's the key message here in all of this to both the private sector and the public sector. But I want to quickly mention on one last issue, which is the issue of unitization to be considered as a way of financing property development in Nigeria. That is talking about the real estate investment trust. I think we have about 3 or so in the capital market now in Nigeria. And Nigeria's population is approximately 200 million people. So 3 REITs for housing finance. Compare that to, wait a minute, South Africa with a population of 57.78 million people as of 2018 census, as of 2018, they have 30 plus. Now, out of these 30, they have 10 of them, 10 of the REIT companies among the top listed companies in South Africa. Let me not say too much, but I'll just mention Singapore. Their population is, I don't think it's up to 50 million rather, but they have 35 REIT companies listed. Now, if you look at that, it also talks about the dynamics of what you are saying about the low yield consideration for real estate investment, for housing investment in Nigeria. How can this mindset, because it's also a mindset based on the fact that they cannot get adequate funding, but how can this mindset be changed? Because there are a number of products also coming to the market now through bonds and all those. Some developers are using bonds to finance their investment, and they are giving loans of up to, or financing loans of up, no, let me not say mortgages of up to 10 years or 12, depending on these bonds and all that. How do you think this will impact the system and help us go to the level that we can begin to have more REITs and also long-term mortgages in the country? Briefly, sir, so that
Thank
we
you
can
very
wrap
much.
up this.
Yeah, I think you're very correct in terms of the current level and number of REITs that we have listed in Nigeria, 3. And the question we should ask ourselves, what really is the performance of those 3? How do we assess their performance today? How would you rate them relative to REITs in other climes? Let me first of all say that REIT is just one way of funding real estate, or one type of investment opportunity into real estate. For us to move this forward, and it's also bedeviled with different challenges of its own. If you look at our REITs in Nigeria, majorly it's focused on commercial real estate only. We do not have residential REITs in Nigeria. So even if you're talking about REIT, you're already constrained to a particular type of real estate class, commercial real estate. So how many REITs, and how do we make REITs also able to invest in residential, invest in other types of real estate assets, industrial and stuff like that? Of course, you can say industrial is also part of commercial, but when we talk of commercial here, our focus is primarily more on retail. So, but let me quickly say that for us to really move, we have to open more channels of opportunities for people to invest in real estate. And I can list so many. REIT is one, which is more attractive to people because it's tradable on the capital market. But you also can invest in real estate through bond. A lot of real estate development companies in Nigeria, we have not been accessing the bond market efficiently. And it's because most companies that are in the real estate industry have not really been able to scale up adequately. Because the requirement to raise bond, I think there are only 3 companies in the real estate industry in Nigeria today that have successfully raised bond from the capital market. I'm talking of UPDC, which is backed by USC. I'm talking of Mixter, backed by ARM. And I'm talking of Alphamid Development. Alphamid, as a company, is the 3rd real estate company in Nigeria that has been able to successfully raise bond. We raised about 1.5 billion last year, and is fully paid back. So we've demystified the factor of real estate investment being risky. Most of the pension companies we approached initially, they were not open to investing in that bond. But we thank God, we were able to pay it down successfully before the due date, together with the interest. And guess what? The yield on that bond was around effective 29%. You can say it's very high, but we were able to pay back. But how do you use 29% cost of finance to invest in real estate and expect to deliver affordable housing? So that's a challenge. We also have the opportunity for companies or individuals to invest in buying shares of real estate companies. That's another opportunity for you to really play in that space and make more funds available. PE firms, we have to encourage them to put money into real estate. They also have real estate investment funds and groups. For instance, I'm aware that InfraCredit is championing one initiative at the moment where they'll be able to provide long-term funds for developers at single interest rate, and many other opportunities there. We have mortgage banks that need to be supported. We have crowdfunding opportunity, which has not been well developed in Nigeria. And these are areas that we should be looking at very closely. So I feel that the issue of making funds available in real estate should not be limited to REIT alone. Our REIT itself is not yet well matured. The REIT companies that we have in Nigeria today are not really performing at par compared to what you have in South Africa and why they are thriving in countries like that. We should look at this more closely. And government on their own also have to make conscious effort to de-risk and incentivize the real estate industry and investors. Things like tax incentives. We have to look at all the tax that are being levied against real estate, housing, rental market, they are just too numerous. Constraints are too many. And you cannot continue to treat real estate investment this way and expect it to thrive. We developers, we know what we are going through. We are going through a lot of challenges. There's nothing that says that anybody should wake up. And when you look at 4-5 investment opportunity, real estate will be your number one choice. It's very difficult in Nigeria to think so. And I also believe that our rating agency, credit rating agency also need to be strengthened, because when international and foreign investors see that as a way of providing assurance to them of who they lend money to, I think we may be able to attract some more foreign direct investment if we do not have sufficient local investment coming into real estate in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Engineer Akintunde. I am not disappointed. Always, you are very, very fervent, very expressive of your points, and you are always speaking on points on issues that relate to real estate and this finance issue. You have really taken it up very effectively today. I appreciate your time. I believe the participants at this program I've really enjoyed listening to you. My hope is that some of the solutions that are profiled here, government agencies, and the private sector will take them up and begin to run with them. Some of them are ideas that already been, some people are already running with, just like you mentioned, the companies that have been able to raise bonds through the capital market and all that. So I look forward to a good conclusion of this particular event, this digital dialogue, as we go ahead in this program. Thank you very much, Engineer Akintunde. Thank you very much, Thinkmint, for giving us this opportunity. Stephen, over to you. Yes, Stephen.
Yeah, thank you so much. I always use that word "so very much" is to emphasize that the very and the much has extra package to it. And I must say a big thank you, Mr. Adedotun, and definitely Engineer Femi. This session just seems to be a specialized branded session for Alpha Mead. I don't understand how this works out, because I'm going to have to tell the organizers to send you a bill, sir. Because I'm not too sure whether you were the one that was behind the technical disappearance of those other two panelists. But you must forgive me. You know me and my big mouth, sir.
Stephen, you are forgiven. It's you that I have to send a bill to you. For taking all the time today.
Well, the beautiful thing with this is that you are a leader in this industry, and a lot of the insights you've shared has helped us to understand how we can also structure some of the issues we should be dealing with on subsequent aspects. And thankfully, the technological world is giving also the kinds of assets that will enable the major policy shapers and, of course, the government thought leaders to see exactly how individuals like yourself, certainly you have the association nerves here, for us to prorata a lot of this stuff and take it high to the higher level. I've always said it's better we're having conversation than we are exchanging fisticuffs. So what happens is that this conversation is going to be an ongoing affair, and then we're going to be making progress, howbeit infinitesimally, but we'll rather have one that is much more of a leapfrog nature than just in small options or passions. But anyway, I want to say a big thank you one more time to Engineer Femi Akintunde, the GMD and CEO of Alpha Mead Group. And a big thank you also to our moderator, Mr. Adedotun Bamigbola. It's a good moment you had. As a matter of fact, it's my first time seeing you. I was going to say we should have given, there are some very intelligent people who don't need to wear glasses. People like Engineer Femi, their intelligence, does not have to, so that I don't get fined afterwards. So we have two intelligent people who handle the panel. All right, thank you, gentlemen. The program continues with our awards announcement. So ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, we are going into our awards. Yeah. And the awards we have are 3 categories. And I'm very excited because I know that I have a wonderful woman in the house who is going to be announcing who the Real Estate Investment Advisory of the Year is. And this award is basically to celebrate organizations that provide real-time investment advice, research-driven content to strengthen the built environment, as well as guide clients through real estate portfolio management, project analysis, conceptualization, acquisition, and execution. And the nominees for this category are Estate Links, 1, 2, Not Called Real Estate, and 3, Courts Real Estate. As a matter of fact, I will want to invite Madam Uzo Oshogwe to please kindly announce who is going to be going home with this coveted trophy.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm responding on behalf of all of them.
Okay. All right, I want to announce the winner, and it's no other than Not Caught.
Woo! That's an applause for Not Caught. I mean, this is interesting. Congratulations, Not Caught. This is one of the things I keep saying with Not Caught, especially with yesterday's moderating task that Mr. Ayo handled. He actually, matter of fact, helped us to drive in deeper into the discussion. And
Okay.
Not Caught, on behalf of Not Caught, I'm receiving this. I'm taking it home. Oh, sorry.
I'll
Tayo,
take it.
Tayo, this
Okay,
is
Tayo is here. I just want to say
right.
a few words about Not Caught.
All right, Tayo.
Okay, I met Not Caught team in 2018 when I visited their office to do a course in the risks mediation and what they are going to accomplish in this space, you know, from mentoring students in Unilag and venturing into parts that nobody else has ever ventured into, auctioning. You know, I've just found them quite amazing. And this award is well deserved. And I wish you a lot more to come. You know, may God continue to bless the works of your hands and order your steps, because he's doing that. Congrats.
Thank you very much.
You want to say something briefly?
Yes, I'll just say a few words. Thank you so much, Uzo. Thank you so much for always being a source of inspiration to us. Thank you to Thinkmint and Business Day for fantastic. You know, we finally huge encouragement to us, because you know, we've not achieved the things that we've achieved without, you know, a lot of, you know, hard work, a lot of sleepless nights, you know, a lot of second guessing ourselves, you know, a lot of, you know, having to have faith, and then some faithlessness again, and encouraging ourselves along the way, you know, and putting in, you know, so much. So this award, you know, is very much appreciated. Thank you so much. And I essentially dedicate this award. I mean, first, all glory, all praise to God that has enabled us, empowered us, you know, helped us to stay focused on this journey. Like Uzo said, we've obviously, you know, delved into parts that a lot of people have found it difficult to, you know, working with research, advisory, you know, even in our brokerage business, we've had to try and rethink how things are done. And that's why we did things like the auction that, you know, was mentioned. All glory to God for all the ideas and the empowerment to follow those paths. But I just want to dedicate this award to the team, you know, the entire team. You know, oftentimes Tayo is mentioned, Ayo is mentioned, you know, the leaders are mentioned, but it's really the team, all the young people, you know, that follow our leadership, you know, that go through the process, you know, and a lot of times they don't have, you know, any precedence to follow. They just follow our lead, you know, and that's what helps us to achieve all the great stuff that we achieve. So thank you so much. Right, God bless you.
I'm going to be sending you an invoice, because this was a part of just endorsement, and you are a sharp man. But that's a good one. Congratulations. It's quite deserving. And I just noticed you wear glasses just like Madam Uzo, so I will let that pass. Only people are leaders who actually wear glasses, as well case might be. Congratulations one more time.
Thank
you so very much, Madam Uzo. And we hope you stay with us as the program continues. I'll be announcing a second award, which is the Residential Project of the Year. This award is to celebrate projects that have stood out in the delivery of high-quality residential apartments that take into consideration the unique elements of the Nigerian society. And the nominees are Choice Estates, number 1. Number 2, Green Park Estates. And number 3, the Pacific Manon. And to help me to announce the winner for this category is no other person than Mr. Korede Adedayo, the MD CEO of First Trust Mortgage Bank. Over to you, Mr. Korede. Hello, Mr. Korede, are you there? Hello, Mr. Korede, are you there? I can see you on my screen though, but I'm not too sure I'm hearing your voice. Well, at this point in time, I would think I would just obviously announce the winner for this category. I wish I could use the voice of Mr. Korede, but I will use my own voice. And the winner is Choice Estates. This is kind of a very different and a very unique experience, especially with the fact that we are dealing on the visual world. So a lot of things may not necessarily flow the way you expect them. But whatever happens, what happens is what it is, as a matter of fact. So at this time, I'm going to be announcing my third award. Sorry, Thinkmint Award is not my award, and that's the category of Prop Tech Company of the Year. And this award category is to celebrate indigenous organizations who have invented, effectively adapted, and enhanced the use of technology to deliver real estate services and products. And the nominees are Zama.ng, Sesso Global, Split, Filmo Realty, and Life Vend. And I'm going to be calling on my very good friend, the acting MD and Executive Director of Urban Shelter, Mr. Mukhtar Aliu, to please announce who the winner is. Mr. Mukhtar, you have to unmute yourself.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to announce the Prop Tech Company of the Year. And the award goes to Split Africa. So congratulations, Split Africa.
Africa, yeah, okay, I have the award here. I was almost taking it home, but it's here. It's not my property, I guess. On behalf of Thinkmint partnership with Business Day, it is definitely a wonderful award. So we have some comments.
Yep. My name is Tola Adesomi. I'm the CEO at Split. Thank you very much for nomination Thinkmint and Business Day. It represents seeing value in what we are doing, disrupting the real estate market, especially from a rental perspective. Would like to dedicate the award to my co-founder and my team for supporting us, for supporting me on this journey, this 3-year journey. It's been gruesome. If everybody knows what the journey of a tech company is, raise money, execute, grow fast, raise money, because we have the big companies like Alpha Mead and all those ones that have been around for so long, and you're trying to disrupt and partner with and catch up with faster than you typically should be able to. So the recognition and even winning the award means a lot to us. It shows that our work is not going in vain and that we're making some sort of impact in the real estate community, showing ourselves as one of the foremost prop tech companies in Nigeria and Africa as a whole. So thank you very much.
Congratulations. Mukhtar Haliu, do you have anything to say, please? You have to unmute. You have to unmute. You have to unmute yourself. Pardon me, unmute your mic, not yourself.
All right, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, just, I think the CEO really spoke well. I was impressed by what he said. And we need that in this space. So you have the mature, large companies, and we can benefit from their wisdom, the alpha meet and so on. But I think companies like Split as well, who are, entrants coming in to provide new insights, is very, very useful. And we can all benefit from it. So I congratulate them.
All right. Thank you so very much, Mr. Mukhtar. You've done well. As a matter of fact, you're one of the sponsors of the Reader 2020. I want to say a big thank you for that. At this point in time, we are going to be going into our final panel as well as our final presentation for the day. However, like I've mentioned earlier on, I'm not anchoring this event alone. I have a co-anchor by the name Mr. Timothy Ikide, and so he's going to be taken up from me anytime soon. I'm so glad that we're able to share this platform. And real estate is an industry we are all very passionate about. However, before we kick off with that, I would like us to start up with a particular presentation that is brought about by Cedarview Communication, as the case is. Well, and also that is going to come up too with a video, as the case is, that we are going to use to showcase. And that presentation is titled The Home of the Future of the Home. Either way, it's still the home that you're looking at, and there's a future in the home. And then to help us with that is Mr. Olawale Oweye, the MD Cedarview Communications.
Afternoon. I hope we're having a nice time learning and celebrating the success of people who are doing well in real estate. So moving quickly to our next panel for next discussion. And moderating our next panel discussion is no other than Mr. John Oamen, who is the co-founder and CEO of LifeVen. Mr. John, are you in the house?
Yes, I'm in the house. Confirm you can hear me, please.
I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you very much, sir.
Fantastic. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great, great. Okay, so on the panel, we have Mr. Maurice Okoli, founder Afiril. Please confirm you're in the house. Mr. Maurice Okoli, you in the house? Okay, I'm sure you'll be joining us soon. Also on the panel, joining us on the panel is also Mr. Sean Godi. Are you here? Mr. Sean, good afternoon.
Yes, I am. Good afternoon.
Great, great. Good to have you here. Mr. Sean is the founder of Diversity Property Solutions. Good to have you here, sir.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
You're welcome. And also on the panel is Mr. Wayne Berger. Are you in the house? Managing partner, Shark Ventures, co-founder, Protech Africa.
Yes, I'm in the house. Thank you for having me.
Excellent, excellent. So we have a good house. We're going to go into a discussion. But just before we do that, we have a short presentation. Now before I hand over to Mr. John Omen. Cedarview, a presentation from Cedarview. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. I just want to be sure that you can hear me. Okay.
I hear you loud and clear.
Thank you. I'll start by saying good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor and a privilege to be here, and I want to thank the organizers of this program for bringing about a meeting place of great minds to discuss the pertinent issues and to shape the future and discussions around the real estate. I mean, one of the very strong thoughts, amongst many others, that came through yesterday from one of the speakers was that, I mean, with the COVID-19 and the new realities and the new normal that we found ourselves that we worship online, we work online, but we've not been able to find anyone that lives online. That sets the tone for the conversation that we'll be having, a short presentation by Cedarview Communications Limited, of which I am the MD CEO of Cedarview. I'll try to share my screen so that we could do, I might need some rights to do that because I have some presentation to put across. Stephen, would I have the rights to share my screen? So I could put up a presentation.
Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, you can share. You can go ahead.
All right, it still says post-disabled attendees. Yeah. Might be a back-end thing. I know sometimes technology.
Yeah, technology could be a bit of,
but it's okay.
Can you share now?
All right, I'll try it one more time. Okay, I'm fine. Great. Thank you. I think it works now.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah. All right. Just want to confirm that the screen is there and
yes, we can see your screen.
Fantastic. So it's the future of the home and the home of the future. And we're looking at three perspectives to that: the smart, the safe, and the social part of it. Cedarview Communications Limited, we're over 9 years, will be 10 January next year. Our core competencies are around enterprise solutions, system integration, consulting, and software development. We're an emerging leader in the design and planning and implementation of ICT solutions. I have a pleasure to lead a team of very brilliant, bright individuals. And I have a co-founder as well, in the person of Mr. Sheon Olajide, that have changed the narrative and brought about certain innovations in enterprise solutions. And lately, we've delved into the residential solutions in the real estate segment. And I'll get into a bit of that as we go on in the presentation. For that, Cedarview, on an overview of Cedarview. This is our reality now. The lines between the workplace and the home fits absolutely. We saw that, we envisioned this, but I think COVID-19 has brought this to the fore, accelerated that, and there's no doubt that technology adoption has been on the increase, not only in Nigeria, but world over. With the lockdown and the sit at home, social distancing, the effect has been mitigated by the technology prowess and innovations of different service providers. I mean, if we look back and think about the former days when we had strikes and we had a lot of partial lockdowns, right? And check the effect of that on life and business. This, no doubt, has not been as disruptive to our everyday life as it could have been, save for the fact that you had internet service, remote working opportunities, e-commerce, and also we would also give it to the government for allowing essential services run even in the period of the lockdown. The World Economic Forum, a global think tank that shapes thoughts in different domains, have told us that the whole world is not exempted from the twin forces of globalization and technology in shaping the future of work, communities, and culture. And that's you can't argue that at the moment. It has come to stay. And we're talking now about the now normals, right? I like to set the context for my postulations, if you would. The things that underpin the certain thoughts we're here to share. Statistics have been taken from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, NBS, driven by Dr. Kale. Wonderful statistics. One of the things we see coming across is that there's an annual population growth of 2.6% in Nigeria. And that shows that in about 30 to 40 years, our population would double if it continues to grow at this same rate, right? There's a housing deficit of between 16 million and 22 million houses. And I projected some of these figures because I think the last actual data was 2018. And just extrapolating that to the current 2020 in which we have. Poverty and inequality gap, the national poverty line is about 40.09. You have an urban poverty ratio of 18% and a rural of 52%. And on the flip side of all of that, I try to see what are the trends that would stem out of those raw data. Starting from the list, it's going to drive rural-urban migration. Everyone has the right to migrate to where they feel they have more economic potentials and they can realize their dreams. If the rural dwellers are less likely to succeed, are more accustomed to poverty, then they have the right to move to any part of the country to do business. And that's what we see. I mean, at a particular time, the former governor of Lagos State alluded to the fact that no less than 15,000 people arrive in Lagos day in, day out. And from the statistics, you have Lagos being the one with the least poverty ratio or percentages, right, in the country. The housing deficit has also thrown up real estate private developers as against individual home ownership schemes that was the case some 30 years ago, and government mass housing schemes. I mean, I don't remember the Jaconde housing schemes and the other ones. But today, we have a lot of developers that are playing in that space, trying to bridge the housing deficit. And like I said before, the WEF, World Economic Forum, projects that there's a rapidly changing world economy that is driven by technology, data, and what they call the fourth industrial revolution, which is about artificial intelligence. And Stephen did mention that jokingly some moments ago. So with all of these statistics and the interplay of forces here, we're able to forecast an output, and certain thoughts are going to be put across having this kind of foundation. I've put up here a picture of a home that we are most accustomed to. In here is a smart home like we know it to be. There's a smart lock system, you have surveillance systems, you have HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning that are automated. Lighting is automated, audio visuals are automated, and that's what we envision to be a home of the future. We talk about IoT and the Internet of Things, where your cars and machines and your refrigerators and everything in your home starts to talk one to another and also to talk with the outside world. We envision a future in which your shopping list and your grocery list by your wife or the housekeepers are already uploaded to the nearest e-commerce sites. And there's an auto refill delivery system that automates that. So you don't really need to go out to do so much because all of that data is available. But I'm trying to put out certain thoughts that should drive that in the Nigerian context. And primacy, on the primary one on that list, and the one that I would feel should drive every one of them, is safety. I've been to certain homes around, and I know the kind of bragging rights that occur when you step into the door and there's a panel there where the lighting control comes on, and you could control your home speaker system and your TV, etc., lighting and so on. Yeah, that kind of feel of accomplishment is, I mean, like you say, I mean, if you worked hard for it, you also have a right to enjoy your life. But I mean, I want to put that across and say, what about let's think around beyond the aesthetics? Why don't we think around safety of some of these things? And thankfully, we have a lot of leading real estate developers here. And I would ask that you lend me your ears and your attention for a few minutes. And we talk about certain things that are a bit emotional for me here. I see that, and I hardly see this in our development, where we put this at the last, on the last burner, or even below the burner, as it were. Do we connect our smoke detectors, our fire alarms, panic buttons, CO detection, cooking gas leakage sensors to a central alarm system that goes to a facility manager, or outsourced to an emergency response system? I say this with all of the mixed emotions, where I lost a friend, and well, a friend and also a friend's husband. He had slumped at home while his wife had gone on a trip with the children. And by just some stroke of divine intervention, she went back to the home thinking something was amiss. She was meant to be on the flight to an MBA conference in Abuja, and she just thought that her husband hadn't called to ask about her well-being. And she thought that something was amiss. And she went back taking that hunch, and a 50-year-old man had slumped on the staircase at the BQ. And the mother was in the main house, just because they did not have a system that could alert people. There was support around, but yet they were all alone. And that's one thing that technology can solve. I mean, the list goes on, even though it's painful where we hear cases of fire accidents and things that are avoidable if only we could just pay attention to the very minute details of sensors. I mean, we talk about a medical condition happening as well. And we have systems today that can detect that. A panic button would alert. And many of the estates that we have today have facility manager offices, and that can be centrally controlled or connected so that an alarm goes through. I mean, and also we could also find a way of ensuring that this social support is available for us. And last but not the least is the attention that we need to pay to the amount of data that we are allowing to go to the very big service companies, without mentioning names, especially a lot of them in San Francisco, having a lot of data around us and can almost recommend to you what you'll be eating for dinner. So safety is paramount, and we have to address these safety concerns. Especially developers should look into that. The next thing is, yes, the house should be smart. All right, we see that in the nearest future, and we see that happening today. A lot of people have ditched their satellite TV for Netflix, for the kind of convenience and control that has given them. But it's going to leave the natural and the mundane high definition screens. And today we'll be looking at 4K and 16K screens, whereby we want to see the resolutions and possibly see your players on the field breathing and see and capture all the expression of their faces as you watch that blockbuster movie or some other soap opera. Everyone wants to be immersed in the world of TV. But that means there's a lot of demand on the throughput and data that has to go into the homes. And the 4G, 5G wireless technologies might be able to go a bit far, but not so far if we could also have put in fiber to almost all of the homes. And like I said, the developers are here. And in my later slides, you will see the kind of revenues that we are losing out because we are not giving an all-encompassing solution. I look at a future in which there'll be shopping will be convenient, like I'd said. And today this applies in the US. One of the largest e-commerce companies in the world already has that. I mean, they put sensors in your pantry to alert them when your cereals are going down, your milk has to be refreshed, and it's totally automated. And that's what's going to happen because people always want convenience day in, day out. Going further is that utility companies would also want to pick up some data from the home through sensors. I mean, your smart metering and all of that data. In other climes, it's possible that you do not have a flat rate year in, year out, right? All through the year. So they might want to start to say, what's your consumption pattern? And start to use such price incentives to ensure that energy is properly utilized. Say, for instance, telling you that you're charged a lot more, turning on your drawing so much more power at certain times of the day. Because, of course, everything has to be balanced time in, time out. Today as well, we talked, I mean, and Akintunde did mention about insurance. Today, your home insurance, fire insurance is flat. I mean, but that could also be driven by data to find out how careful or careless you are at home, right? Do you turn on things? How often does your sensors go off? And all of those data can also help you lessen the kind of insurance premium you'll be paying on some of your services, because data allows us to be able to gauge human behavior as it differs from one to another. But what's the point here? The point here is that developers could put in fiber into the homes and put in gateways and sensors. And we talk about Zigbee, LoRa, and all that kind of technology that we have available. And you could integrate with you and ensure that value is delivered on a recurring basis, even after you have long forgotten the sale of the house. And last but not least is the fact that I see that the home of the future will be one that is social. One thing that technology and COVID-19 has shown us is that robots are not going to take all of the jobs. There would always be the place for human interaction. Much more than anything, there's a yearning in man for the interconnectedness with one another. And I believe that that would be the form and feature of the home going forward, whereby you have neighborhood messaging systems that promote networking, trade, and trust. I mean, there are a lot of business that is done within your confines of your community, typically because trust is already given. I mean, we talk about KYCs in the banks and all of that, but what better KYC do you need much more than a neighbor that lives with you in the same proximity? And that's one of the things that we should start to see going forward, especially as we build estates and where people have a means of having communal living. I mean, and I talk around visitor management systems, RFID on vehicular movements, etc., community security apparatuses. I mean, what do I mean by that? There's an incursion in your home or an intruder comes, and then that your system picks that up. I mean, it might flag it up to your phone, but what if that goes to your facility manager? What if that is connected to the public security agencies in and around your area? Those are the kind of things that we envision and we are trying to build and have started building. And last but not least is the social support structures that help us in fitness programs. I mean, one of those estates in Lekki where I visited a friend, and they already have a routine where at certain times of the day, permit me without being at the risk of sounding the gender bias, when a lot of my friends, ladies also, they jog together at a particular point in time, and that kind of motivates them to continue to do that. We talk about faith building because it's a communal form of living, and family bonding and honing collaboration skills that our children do need. That's what the home of the future is going to be. It's not going to be where you have a plot of land and you built your house and you have gated everybody in and gated other people out. The home of the future is going to be social. It's going to be in communities, and that's the way we envision it to be. I say this as I try to round up. There's an opportunity that beckons to developers at the moment. We can leverage your investments to shape the future, earn more return on them, and also keep ensuring that you keep earning this kind of returns by providing recurring value to your subscribers and to your residents. Henry Ford was asked the question, if he were to ask his customers at that time in the US, would they want faster horses? The answer would have been yes. But ultimately, he knew that it wasn't about the horse, it was about the Model T. And that's why he came out with the car and the automobile that has changed and shaped the last century. I say today, it is essential that we build homes with the future in mind. The customers today would need much more than a roof to lay their head. They will need a home to live in, a home to work from, and a home to play. Our job is to co-create that future with you and with other stakeholders. And I would say, how do we get started? The telephone number of our company is there, 01295-1555. Take that again, 01295-1555. It's on the screen, and you could send us an email at partnerships@cedarviewng.com. Once again, I say thank you for having me to share some thoughts that we've put together. And I say the future is now. We can co-create it because that's the best way to build value. It's no man knows it all, and no man knows nothing as well. Thank you for having me, and God bless you. Thank you.
Your eyes are gold, you're shining bright. The music cheers your
Mr. Olawole, for that wonderful presentation. A smart home is definitely the way for the future. And the future is now. Smart home is going to become something that will become an everyday thing. So yes. So we're going to quickly move into, thank you once again for that wonderful, wonderful presentation. So moving quickly to our panelists. Thank you very much for your patience, our panelists. I'm going to be handing over to Mr. John. Mr. John, I hope you're still in the house.
I'm still very much here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. So,
fantastic.
Talking about leveraging technology in today's real estate market. So, Mr. John, over to you. Our panelists have been called out. So, let's see the road. Thank you, sir.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Our time has been fast spent, but I'm glad to know that we still have some of our panelists here. I want to start by saying a very big thank you to Wayne. Wayne, I see your screen is up. I'm sure you may have missed to call our award winner today, Akintola Odesomi, is also supposed to be on this panel. Akintola, if you're here, we're glad to have you. Without much further ado, we all know that every action begins as a thought. Now, unfortunately, a lot of thoughts will die just thoughts because no action will be taken. But today, we have thought leaders in the space who are going to be sharing their thoughts around leveraging technology in the real estate space. And we're hoping that this session will not only be informative, but will be stimulating for progress in the real estate space in Africa. So we will jump right to it. And I would like to direct this question to Sean. What is the role of PropTech in minimizing the cost of resources associated with real estate transactions? And I'd just like to say that these questions would be bounced around us, so everyone can feel free to jump in. Sean, if you're with us, feel free to take the stage.
Thank you, John. Thank you to everyone at Thinkmint and Business Day for arranging this. It's fantastic to be on this platform and speaking to Nigeria, which is a market and a country that really interests me. So thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Yes, in terms of resources in the transaction process, obviously there's a lot of technology that is focused or is said to be focused on cutting out the middleman. So putting buyers and sellers directly in touch. So with things like Airbnb is obviously a big example. Where landlords and potential tenants interact directly through a platform that offers transparency and obviously security of transactions and vetting, etc. So in one way that can obviously play a part. So there are across Africa, there's a number of interesting sales and letting platforms that digitize the transactions process as much as possible. Obviously, with traditional analog deed registries, the whole transaction can't be digitized, but there's some very exciting work being done in mostly West and East Africa regarding blockchain technology with companies like CISO Global. So when blockchain is implemented, this can greatly speed up the process, which in terms of resources, I think time is one of the main issues for developers and investors, because issues in securing title deeds and also in actually changing and swapping over title deeds in the transaction process can really put a hold on things. And then if that tenure and ownership isn't accurate, there's cases where people start building and then a year in somebody rocks up on the site and has a title deed, and actually that site doesn't belong to you. So I think deed registries are something I'm very interested in. There's a lot of projects underway to sort of digitize the registries and also to implement what is called like a land information system. So again, East Africa, some very interesting activity, not so much in Southern Africa. So this is somewhere where obviously I'm speaking from South Africa. we tend to lag in that sense. So our deed registry, it's fairly efficient, but it could be more efficient, and there are issues that arise. I mean, it's a huge undertaking to digitize the system, but there's massive benefits, and it offers a really exciting platform for a whole range of PropTechs to grow their services, and also new PropTechs to enter the fold. I mean, because just the flow of data and the sort of platform is fascinating, because data is the lifeblood of the industry and transactions, etc. So, yeah, in short, I think it's time, resource, and then costs involved in with the people involved can be saved. In terms of cutting out the middleman, agents and brokers will be around, like was said in the previous presentation by the gentleman, which was very interesting. There'll always be a human touch in real estate, and I think that applies to the transaction, although some digital tools may be available. So some people might opt for a fully digital transaction if it's available, but there's very much, I think, be a balance. So that's exciting, but beyond PropTech is deed registries and the work that's been done to digitize those, which I think is interesting. And coupled with that is blockchain, which has had mixed successes globally, but there's obviously a place for it within the transaction process. So yes, that's my view on that topic.
Very interesting opinions on that. I'm wondering if Wayne is here, and Wayne wants to jump in on that particular question. We're still talking about the role of PropTech in minimizing the costs associated with real estate transactions, Wayne.
Sure. So, I mean, I think Sean covered the topic quite comprehensively, but just from our side, I come from a bit of a technical background in the software and property space, and ultimately where we'll see the savings is ultimately digitizing the transaction. So when you digitize the transaction, you can cut out some admin, you can cut out some paperwork, you can cut out some people, and you can also centralize the information. So you can either put it in the cloud, or you can use some sort of blockchain technology that just gives, or ultimately blockchain saves the data across multiple servers, and it just sort of makes the data, let's say, more accessible to the participants. So from our side, not just in digital transactions, PropTech should be making, all of property more efficient in one way or another. If there's no value in adopting the PropTech, then why would you do that? So ultimately, PropTech should be making everything more efficient. And specifically in the transaction space, we see in South Africa, I'm going to talk on South Africa for a moment, with the conveyancing part of a transaction. It takes a lot of time. The deeds office takes a lot of time. And there's lots of opportunities to make the transaction more efficient with technology.
Fantastic. Thank you for your input, Wayne. If Tola is still here, Tola, would you like to speak about the West African market, which we're a part of?
Yes. Like Sean earlier mentioned, and I think he was trying to focus on something else, but even in the transaction phase, customer acquisition phase of PropTech, we are very behind in West Africa. So I will give a very good example. At Split, we're currently fundraising for our seed round. We had a pre-seed earlier. And when we're talking to investors, they are very surprised that we are democratizing rental, for instance, and that a platform has just been introduced 3 years ago, as early as 3 years ago, to democratize that process. And they get very confused when they hear that we pay 1 year or 2 years rental upfront to access living, and then we still have to buy furniture and still have to pay for other services like service charge, cleaning, and all those other things that come naturally to first world countries, right? So I mean, in our own case, it's even solving that basic problem, right? Building the trust creating a platform that builds trust between the supply side, which are the homeowners, the builders, and then the demand side, which is the people that are trying to rent, either for tourism purposes, which is short stay, or for permanent purposes, which is long stay, and democratizing that process in a way that they can actually afford to live in these spaces. Again, from our own end, the way we contribute to reducing the cost is by giving people like real pricing, right? So as you know, the real problem or the real cost in Nigeria is the cost of the land, right? And when people build on the land, they can't build one bedrooms, for instance, which from data that we gather from demand that we get on our platform is what people really need, 1 and 2 bedrooms. But when you get into the market, you see that people are building 3, 4, 5 bedrooms, right? Because we've been able to break that down into rooms and create a sharing platform or shared spaces on our platform, it sort of gives the people that are building this property data to say that, see, most of the people that are willing to rent from you can only afford 1 room, literally. How do we get the price of the land to go down or the cost of building these structures to go down in a way that it is profitable for the builder to build 1 or 2 bedrooms, right? So the data that we gather on our own end sort of informs companies that we work with on the supply end, especially for the long stay, for our long stay customers, to know what to build, as well as us trying to innovate around it with things like container homes, prefab homes, to bring down that cost along the value chain and get it out to the end customer. I think these are ways that we can sort of like bring down costs or optimize the cost of rental, of living, of building, and across the whole value chain.
Fantastic. Thank you for that insightful response. I think one thing we all agree on is that technology plays a big role in bringing down the cost in any industry, and of course, specifically in our industry, which is the real estate one. And so I'm going to move quickly to the next question, which is around financial technology and how we can integrate it into the real estate sector for more secure payments, for funding sources, for property purchases, and the rest. I mean, I'd like us to just speak about how we think the fintech industry can enable us as the real estate industry to do better. But before I call on anyone else, just to confirm that we have Mr. Morris on the line. Is he here? Okay. I'm sure if he is, he'll jump in at some point. In the meantime, Mr. Wayne, if you don't mind going first this time, share with us what you think the role of fintech will be, how we can to the real estate sector.
Well, I mean, I'll give you an example. We have a platform in our portfolio called Instant Property, where we have an online auction facility. And one area where during COVID, we had a lot of traction, a lot of auctioneers and real estate agents needed to either white label an online auction platform or they needed to be able to list. And one of the financial offerings that we offer on the platform is we work with financing service providers, and as users sign up or they FICA with us to be able to bid, we also offer them different financial services. So ultimately, when you're digitizing, let's say, a transaction, you also centralizing the information and you're enabling the ability to offer value adds along the way. There's also a lot of different service providers that offer, let's say, financial transaction capabilities. But the most important thing, let me talk directly to the real estate people that are not technically savvy. One of the most important things you need to consider is today we live in what's called an API environment or an API world. Ultimately, An API is a way to connect two different software systems together. You need to make sure that your central system or your main system or the solutions you are doing are API enabled. What this enables, it allows you to link in any financial payment technology, any, let's say, accounting software. Obviously, they have to have APIs for themselves, but today, to get started, you need to be API enabled. So for me, if your technology is API enabled, then you are able to license software from multiple different service providers, and you are able to make your let's say your real estate business more efficient. And then obviously this goes into the sort of financial, let's say, all the different secure payments, funding sources, etc. One thing that interests me a lot, and I find it very exciting relating to financial technology, is crowdfunding. And I believe right now what's holding crowdfunding back is just legislation in the different territories regarding ownership of property. But as soon as crowdfunding becomes the norm, and I do believe in time it will become the norm across all different industries, I think that's going to give access to a lot of different opportunities to different, let's say, developers, to different potential property entrepreneurs, and ultimately, you know, just to people that want to invest but aren't able to either invest on a large scale. So yeah, that's from my side.
Fantastic. Sean, if you quickly take a go at the same question.
Thanks very much. Yes, Wayne made some really interesting points on obviously the tech side of it. There's a lot for people, I think, just to be aware of. You know, there can be a lot of sort of lack of understanding on the tech side and also the real estate side. So if tech providers or prop tech providers don't understand real estate dynamics, they normally encounter issues, and likewise, real estate players need to, you know, understand what technology is available in order to make informed decisions. So around finance, like Wayne said, there's some interesting transaction platforms like there's an instant property that sort of cross over into fintech. So payments, raising finance, etc., is really important. Also things like credit checks and making, you know, financial projections, etc., and risk analysis around these transactions. So there's a lot of crossovers with prop tech and fintech. In terms of the question here, I think, like Wayne said, crowdfunding is a big game changer. There's been some good crowdfunding activity across the continent, but in terms of real estate focused crowdfunding, it's a bit less so. Definitely in South Africa, we're lagging behind, mainly due to the regulatory environment, but that's a bit more open in, I'd say, in markets in West and East Africa. Again, there's more opportunities because it's really exciting what crowdfunding can do with an asset class like real estate, because it's large amounts to be funded when investors are looking to do projects, and if developers are looking to do projects rather, and also for investors, you know, large portions of populations in Africa are excluded from accessing real estate in terms of investment and also ownership. So crowdfunding can be really interesting to unlock these opportunities, offer new funding options for developers, offer new investment classes to help in wealth distribution, which is common in the UK in their affordable housing products. So you could purchase a quarter of a property and then pay the landlord rent on the other 75%, as an example. And fintech can enable this, which would again be really good in the African context, where low income earners could start even with 10%. They get a loan on that amount, and then they can gradually buy further portions of that property. So it could open up property ownership, you know, in a way that wasn't before possible. So that's interesting. And then, you know, in the rental market, it's quite interesting, like in Nigeria, where rentals are commonly paid 12 months in advance. So this can be a challenge for developers, landlords looking to rent, and then also buyers raising finance. Very high interest rates, a lack of traditional institutional mortgage providers. Like in Kenya, that's particularly true, where there's a very small formal mortgage market. So crowdfunding changes this. So it can be crowdfunded from public, or it could be crowdfunded, behind that could be numerous private equity firms or developers or landlords who could actually crowdfund and offer finance options so that they can sell and rent their product at the end of the day. So it really helps the value chain in the market. So I think those key areas are really important, and the impact is quite large for unlocking opportunities in the real estate market, allowing people to access the opportunities of renting and owning homes as well. So yeah, thanks very much. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Sean. And I'm glad to see that we have Mr. Morris back on the call. But before I call him to give us his thoughts, something interesting that Wayne talked about is making sure that those of us building prop tech solutions are, considering API for connections, which is very key. There's no point having an automated process where the payments still have to be manual. So we all need to be prepared to connect with the right fintech solutions, to see that we can execute our transactions completely. On that note, I'd like to let Mr. Morris quickly jump in and give us his thoughts. He's big in the investment and fintech space, so we're eager to hear his thoughts on the question.
Thanks, John. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. It's kind of low, but we can hear you. If you have a volume control.
To also let you know what we're doing in the fintech space in Nigeria when it comes to enabling people to acquire property. What we've done.
Your volume is quite low, so if you have a volume control, see if you can increase it so that our audience can hear you clearly.
Okay, can you hear me better?
It's better. Still a bit hollow, but it's better. You can shoot.
Okay, so I'll just speak louder.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're doing in the fintech space is we built a proper mortgage tech platform, right? Because what we found is that a lot of people would like to buy property, and of course it's quite difficult to have the entire 100% when you need to buy a property, hence the reason for mortgages, right? But if you want to buy a property, regardless of how much the property is, and you haven't got access to a mortgage, it becomes more difficult. We've decided to build a mortgage tech platform that will link to our MLS, right? So you're able to apply for a mortgage online. The entire transaction is done online. You start with trying to know how much you can afford in terms of affordability. You look at affordability, and then you're able to take the entire process forward. We've also integrated with the likes of credit bureaus to be able to at least have that process done online, right? We believe that access to quality information is one issue we've got locally in Nigeria, right? Everybody wants to be able to get either a regular mortgage or buy through NHF, the National Housing Fund loan, right? We've been able to integrate our platform with certain lenders. So we have mortgage banks that we've integrated with, and also commercial banks we've integrated with. For the mortgage banks, you're able to apply for NHF through our platform to Federal Mortgage Bank for NHF, right? And just like Wayne, I think Wayne was one that said that initiative. We built based on API. So we have endpoint APIs. We have endpoint APIs to be able to connect with any platform. So either a bank, either a developers have a sophisticated platform, or credit bureaus. So we're trying to make sure that distribution, right? I've always said that distribution is an issue, right? Distribution from how do people know the right properties and buy the right properties, and how do people get access to finance, right? We've decided to take out the burden of origination from the mortgage institutions, right? So let's originate the mortgages for them, right? Let's make sure more people are able to get into starter homes and be able to have access to finance through what we're doing. And that's the little we're trying to do with marrying finance with technology and real estate in Nigeria.
Fantastic. Great work you're doing, and we look forward to having to see or to feel more the effects of this work as we go. As we all know, part of the reason why we have these conversations is so that we can stimulate ourselves towards improving and doing much more than we're currently doing. There's so much that the African continent still needs in terms of data, which everybody, on the panel has talked about, making data accessible, whether it's in the area of mortgages, whether it's in the area of cost of homes, costs of construction materials, and a big thumbs up to all the panelists who are on and who are doing big things in their different markets. Now, my next question, which I will be posing to Tola, is how can data-driven processes be enhanced for decision-making in the Nigerian real estate industry? I've had a lot of conversations with players in the industry who are, supposedly doing okay, even though there's a lot more that can be done. And sometimes, we find that people don't even necessarily understand why they need data. We know we need funding. We know we need people to buy our properties that we build. We know we need some of the basic things, but it occurs to me that a lot of people don't even necessarily understand the value of having good and clean data. So I'd like you to speak to that, especially, with the efforts you have with Split. And let's hear you, please. Thank you.
Thank you. This is an interesting question because I was just having an argument with somebody about it on Twitter. So for example, we're building our full solution now. We just rebranded and we're pushing out that solution in a few weeks. And one of the things that we are thinking of integrating, first of all, we've integrated for the KYC, we integrated a solution that would give us data on our customer before, or our intending customer before they become a customer, right? To make us, or to help us make decisions on whether they are a good fit for a space that they want to book on our platform. However, we figured out that beyond that, we needed more data to understand, say, their spending patterns or their affordability patterns, right? Or if they can actually afford the space that they're trying to book. So someone can save up for 1 month, but can they pay for this space over time, right? Having that data being provided to us is very important for us to make any decision that we want to make, because in the end, it sort of prevents us from recovery actions, right? So going back, expatiating on your question or expatiating on what I'm saying, data is very important for us to make any decision, right? Especially in the real estate space, where we find out that in Lagos or in most of Nigeria, for instance, we have a lot of homes that are not lived in. And that's because they have not been built from a data perspective. These homes, people have acquired land, right? And then they've built very expensive things and not found out whether people can either afford it in the first place, or people can either rent whatever their cost valuation would be when the rental value comes out, right? Putting together data before we go out to do anything is very important. And it's one of the things that I appreciate the Northcote guys for, because they always give us those reviews, those real estate research, give us proper data for building, for renting, for long leases and all of those things. And these data would help us make better decisions. For instance, if you want to build, is it better for me to do a long lease or better for me to buy the land, right? Data will help you make that decision. Or if you want to rent out, if you want to invest in property, do I invest in Lagos Island or in Lagos mainland? If you have data of what people can afford and the demographic of people that can afford these properties, it will give you it will help you make that decision on what part of the island, I mean, of Lagos, you would make this investment in the first place, right? So data is very important. For us, we've been speaking to some of these fintechs that can give us all this financial data as well. We would have to mine and clean up this data to make better decisions. Like one of the projects that we want to take on, we're partnering with a builder to put together container housing. But one of the first decisions we needed to make was, do we buy the land or do we long lease the land? And we found out that over time, when we put together that model, based off of the data that we had gotten, it made more sense to long lease the land. The owner of the land is satisfied, can do whatever he wants. Container is there, can be there for 10, 20 years. Everybody in that value chain receives value, right? And we could only make those decisions based off of data.
Fantastic, fantastic. Wayne, if you're there, the effects of data-driven processes or how data-driven processes can enhance decision-making in the Nigerian real estate industry. And I think you can take it across Africa, really, Wayne.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, I'll take it just in general. First of all, John, thank you for mentioning clean data, because you can have as much data as you like. You can have all the data in the world, but if it's not clean, if you have bad data going in, then you're going to get bad information coming out. So that's something that's very important just to consider. I think also Sean mentioned earlier, but there's a saying that data is the new oil. If you have the right data, having data, it's actually more about asking the right questions. When you know the questions that you're looking to ask, then you know what data you need to gather or what clean data you need to gather. Something to consider, there's in artificial intelligence, there is a category called machine learning. And machine learning is very popular at the moment, where you take a bunch of data sets and you put them together. They have to be clean, of course, and then the machine over time or the algorithms over time, they work up some interesting data. Now, in one of our projects, we have a platform called smartbuilding.mobi, and we are using a machine learning API to analyze utility data. So we look at the water meter consumption, we look at electrical meter consumption, and there's so much that you can actually pull out from this type of data. First of all, you can see when people are waking up in the morning, you can see, just so much information. Also, what's nice about machine learning is that you can use multiple data sets. So for instance, in this particular project, we also use the weather data. You're able to get the weather data, and the weather data will influence, your water consumption, your electrical consumption, etc. So something to consider, once again, talking to the property people here, is that with the Internet of Things are little devices that connect to the internet, and they send data to, let's say, the cloud. Ultimately, that's a data center. With stronger internet coming to Africa, we're seeing it in a lot of territories, the requirement for more data storage is something that is going to become very relevant and is already relevant. So we're seeing just a lot of data center requirements, and with Internet of Things, with machine learning, and with clean data, as soon as the different companies understand how to use their data, the storage of this data becomes very relevant. So in terms of decision making, it's critical. But once again, it goes back to asking the right questions. If you've got all the data, but you're not asking the right questions, then you're not really going to get the right results. So that's my 2 cents worth on clean data and how data will influence the property industry. But very much in the end, it's to make things more efficient and to make your decision making more effective.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Wayne. Very instructive there, where you talked about data storage becoming very important. And I hope that all the stakeholders in the room around the world and in Nigeria are thinking towards that direction, as the cloud, becomes to be begins to become more and more important, we should all look to that direction. Another thing that Tola said, which I thought was very instructive, is that data actually helps you to understand the issues you've had, errors, and to avoid repeating certain mistakes. It's something that is very, very important for us to consider. Somebody says a wise man learns from his mistakes, but a wiser man, learns from the mistakes of others. And on that note, I will be moving to our next question around ConTech, which I believe is construction technology, how it can be implemented to aid the high rate of housing deficiency gap in Nigeria. I'm sure that question should read, to reduce the gap, to begin to close the gap. How can we apply, how construction technology can be implemented to bridge that gap and see that over time we have, lower figures than we have. I personally think that there'll be a lot of factors required to bridge that gap, and construction technologies was one of them. But I also strongly believe that if we're all putting the right level of attention at the different factors and the different facets of it, ultimately that big giant, hopefully will be able to be brought close. So I would take this to Mr. Tola once again, just to share your opinions quickly of how you think construction technology can be implemented to aid the high, or to bridge the high housing deficiency we currently face in the country.
Yeah, interesting question. I think, as I said earlier, for us in Nigeria, using Nigeria as an example, the cost of each part of the value chain is what makes the cost of rental, for instance, high, right? I think in the prop tech space, or in the construction tech space, like the awesome things that the guys at that do container housing are doing, bringing down the cost of building would therefore, or furthermore, bring down the cost of everything else. So for instance, if we can get land and long lease, right, and put prefabricated buildings or container buildings, so to speak, on those properties, what you have already is you save time, right? Because the structure is already there, the container is already there, so you're saving time. And then you're saving money, because once you have that, and once you're saving time, you're saving money, because once you have that structure in place, all you need to do is probably do some editing to that structure, and it's livable, right? It's livable for as long as possible. Maybe half the period of a brick and mortar building would be, but it's livable, right? If across that value chain in the construction guys are able to put more of these types of houses on the market, and they are more affordable or more accessible, as we like to say as Split, I believe that more people will be willing to rent, more people will be able to rent, right? And this sort of reduces the housing gap, or the inaccessibility to housing. And it also brings more investors in, right? I know that wasn't your question, but it brings more lower tier investors, the ones that probably can only afford to invest in real estate at 10 million naira, 15 million naira. It brings them brings them into the conversation. And as Wayne or Sean was saying, like, if you can also put crowdfunding capabilities into the ownership of these things, right? So for instance, a construction company says they want to build a compound of 20 containers, 1 bedrooms, right? And they want people to own blocks in a blockchain of ownership of that space, right? That funding can continually, replicate that system, right? Which brings about access to the people that wouldn't have been able to afford maybe a 1 bedroom in Lekki, in highbrow areas in Lagos, right? But because of the reduced cost in funding, they can access that. They are closer to work, which betters the life of Nigerians as a whole, right? Because of that accessibility. I think that's how we can sort of, construction tech can sort of reduce that cost or that access to housing by just looking around and finding innovative ways or innovative materials that are cheaper than your regular brick and mortar structured building. And across the value chain, everybody gains, right? The landowner is gaining, the person that builds is gaining, people that could invest at lower tiers are gaining, and then people that want to stay in the spaces are also have access to housing.
Fantastic. It's important that it's interesting that you touched on, stimulating the lower tier market to come in as well. I think one of the things that we do at LiveVend is that, we try to make pricing available for people to be able to understand the space a bit more. We also have a project monitoring tool that basically helps you monitor your projects. I was reading a report by McKinsey & Company in the UK, and they talked about, construction inefficiency being a major factor. I think they said something about it being as high as 30%. And so I think data to be more efficient, like we've talked about, is a major factor to consider, not just for the top tier, but like you said, for the middle income guys, to be more comfortable to come into the market. I think the other thing is currently in Nigeria, the construction space is more or less like fuzzy or hazy, so the more transparent, the more we make it, easy for people to understand. People will dabble into things that they understand a bit more and have a bit more confidence. Thank you so much for those thoughts. If Maurice is here, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the same question, how you believe construction tech, can be implemented to aid the rate of the housing deficiency, becoming lower, especially, in the space that you play.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll probably look at a couple of examples, right? Or we just stop at one example, actually. So you're looking at, if I look at what you're doing, actually, John, right? So that's a way more people can actually get hold of cheaper method or cheaper materials to build. So what you've done is to remove the opaque nature of pricing and also availability of sources of good building materials, right? So you aggregate, what you're doing is aggregation. So when it comes to aggregation, a developer is able to source for the best material from the best supplier at the best price, right? This frees up suppliers to be able to locate their warehousing or their factories, right, in cheaper locations, still bringing down the price, right, of the final product. What one can also do with that is find better technology in terms of managing the building, the site itself, in terms of filtering, which we know goes on in construction sites quite a bit. So you have to find a way to manage that entire process in terms of what you have on site and how things move around on site. With what you guys are doing, I'm assuming that just in time is a big part of what you've built into your supply chain model, right? So all this will come together to help build cheaper properties. Now, if you then move forward into other aspects in terms of using technology to build, finding better ways to use technology to build in terms of formwork and other things like that. I suppose we're not yet there because we still have to spend quite a bit of money just learning the method itself, right? So the current traditional method still seems slightly cheaper, but with time, once we build capacity, when I say we, I mean Nigeria, once we build capacity and things like that in effect drives down the entire pricing itself, meaning that we can produce homes quicker and produce homes cheaper, which then gives us the ability to build more affordable and even social housing at a price point that we're able to finance better with things like National Housing Fund.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And it's really interesting you bring that up, because we've actually just introduced a product called LiveVent Pro, which goes into the day-to-day monitoring of construction processes to make sure that, like you said, things like pilfering, and even where they're just innocent, inefficient use of materials can be checked. And more importantly, the fact that project owners can get notifications when there are any deviations from construction plans, whether it be budget or time, so that they can look into them in good time. So we're hoping that all these efforts over time will begin to trickle down, and get us to a point where our construction costs are driven low. Before I go to the next question, I'd just like to know if Wayne would like to weigh in on this. And Sean, I'll come to you next.
Yeah, sure. I mean, just two exponential technology, well, one exponential technology that I think is going to be very relevant to the construction space, it already is 3D printing. 3D printing has the ability to drastically reduce costs involved with construction. It can also, reduce the time involved to get certain, let's say, buildings up. And what's also very interesting, sometimes you can get a situation where it's very difficult to build in a certain area, and 3D printing might be able to solve that, because you can build parts of a particular building or a particular construction. And then just an interesting point, I saw recently that a waste management company in Rwanda has been using plastics or what do we call it? One-use plastic, and they've been recycling it to use for construction costs. So for construction. So just something quite interesting there is using, let's say, waste related products for construction.
Fantastic. Thank you, Wayne. Sean, if you're there and you want to jump in real quick.
Yes, thanks. Just very quickly, just to add, I think to highlight the points that are quite interesting. I think there's three areas where Contech is important. It's like driving efficiency in the actual construction process. So like you just mentioned, with your products, monetizing, tracking certain parts of the process. Also remote site visits and monitoring, which has become a need during lockdown conditions. So just that whole construction process there's a lot of efficiencies that could happen in terms of communication, payments, monitoring, and then construction methods and materials, like Wayne said, 3D printing, modular construction still has some ways to go, I think globally and also in Africa, but huge opportunities for reducing construction costs and time, particularly interesting for affordable housing delivery, which is crucial in Africa. And then materials, like Wayne said, eco-friendly driven materials made from waste is very exciting. So yes, those are just 3 points to highlight.
Fantastic. I think upskilling the human resource we have in Africa will be one other way to also go when it comes to the data culture, the efficiency culture, seeing how we can begin to inculcate this into our curriculums. At LiveVent, we've also started an academy where we upskill, skilled labor or laborers in the construction space, teaching them some of the basic things around personal leadership, understanding finance, how to use charts, how to use tools. And I'm trusting that as we continue to forge ahead in a few years to come, when we look back, we would all be proud of all the efforts we're putting in now. This question is a very funny one to me, and it's really around talking about if Nigeria is ready. I know Sean is big on research, and even though you're not Nigerian, I would like you to actually take a go at this and tell us your thoughts around, do you think Nigeria is ready for smart real estate, for intelligent cities, for buildings, for IoT, Internet of Things, for a more data-driven, what are your thoughts around our readiness for technology in our space?
I think generally speaking, the tools are there. There's a great tech ecosystem in Nigeria. You know, there's been fantastic successes with fintech and a lot of other areas, and the prop tech ecosystem is very exciting. I've been to Lagos a few times, and I've met a few people, and I follow trends quite closely. And I've, like you said, I've done some research to different parts of Africa in prop tech. So I think Nigeria is ready, but it faces a lot of common issues when there's sort of change and new technology. There tends to be a resistance and a mindset change is normally necessary from the real estate industry itself. So that's a process. Sorry, of sharing, of educating, and that's where prop tech associations can have a really important role to play. So Wayne and myself are co-founders of Prop Tech Africa with Kevin Tivarunaram, and then we also co-founded SA Prop Tech. So we're trying to connect the ecosystem, raise awareness, bring real estate and the prop tech players together through events, etc. So that's a big thing as well. And then you mentioned skills. That's, I think, something across within the construction industry, Contech. Also for prop tech, you need solid real estate skills, obviously, which there's some very good courses and degree programs offered by Nigerian universities, and there's some fantastic masters available internationally, and short courses. So that's important, and that investment needs to happen now, and particularly in tech. Children should be taught coding at school, etc., which happens in a lot of education systems. So that's one thing, is skills and the resources. So the current, there's huge demand for back-end web developers, app developers, data scientists. So, but this is also an opportunity. People can upskill, as formal jobs decrease. And obviously there's a need for new employment opportunities in emerging markets. That's quite exciting. So it's a challenge, but also an opportunity, as in all these barriers are. But overall, I'd say Nigeria is ready, and there's some great inroads being made from the companies we've seen now, Split and yourself as well, and there's some of the sponsors, Landway, and then Filmo Realty is doing some interesting things with their prop techs, and then the Prop Tech Association. There is people driving it, especially Roland. Forget his surname, Ignobo, I think. He's doing a lot of good work and connecting internationally, and Prop Tech Africa is trying to obviously assist where we can and drive the conversation. So I think the answer is yes, but there are barriers which are common in all countries. And then the real estate market itself, if it's facing structural challenges, difficult economics, people aren't going to be willing to sort of spend money on on new products and services. So that's another factor. So our friends from North Court can tell us all about that as well, the real estate market, and that those dynamics are important. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Thanks.
Fantastic. I think one of the things I picked from what you're saying is that there's heavy collaboration in this industry, and hopefully that in itself should play a huge role in moving us forward. You talked about Northcote, you talked about Roland, you talked about a couple of different companies in the space that are doing, that are tackling it from different perspectives, and that's very important. The other thing is sometimes a person or an entity may not know they're ready for something till you show them. The question is, when they realize they're ready, who will be there? And I'm glad that we're all here. But I'm going to move the question further to some of my Nigerian counterparts on the panel. Mr. Tayo, if you're still there, I'd like you to jump on this. And I will be coming to Maurice next to tell us your thoughts as to, to tell us your thoughts as to Nigeria's readiness for property tech, for construction tech, if you don't mind.
Readiness, I think I'm half and half on it, right? As you said, and as Sean said, it's important that we collaborate. So let me paint a picture for you. And I'm going to just tell a story, short story. Northcote does the research, right, and tells us where and what to build, right, and what would give us the best return on investment, right, and then someone like give me one construction company does container housing, right, comes into the process, and LiveVend gives them the best materials or the best affordable materials to use for that process, right? That gets done 4 to 5 months. We have a whole building up, right? And then it's fully furnished, it's fully serviced. We push it out to Split. Split does all the customer acquisition, does all the, and gets the return on investment going, right? That collaboration, right, is very important in this ecosystem. I say half and half because there are also Nigerian nuances that don't let that story happen like that, right? So who's going to be providing generator, or how the power issues that we have, or the road network issues that we have, that we should be dependent on the government on solving. Those kind of things are the nuances that sort of, mess up that story, or don't make that story as smooth as it should be. But why I also believe that we're ready is because these companies exist now, and these companies are trying to collaborate. I know I have sat down with Tayo and we've thought of how to collaborate, and he brought up LiveVend. I didn't know LiveVend until Tayo told me about LiveVend, right? I didn't know about Filmo Realty until I met Lukman. So it's important that we start to create the same way the fintech guys sort of started to create their own ecosystem, that we create a more visible ecosystem. Because as a startup who's raising money at the moment, it's tough because nobody knows anything about PropTech, or hardly do people know anything about PropTech in Nigeria. But once it's fintech, a fintech is raising money as fast as possible and they can move fast. But for us, we still have to be speaking and explaining and explaining and explaining. It's not self-explanatory. I think building that association that Roland is trying to do and advocating for ourselves, right, is very, 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 very important in the process, so that collaboration is easy on different value, in the different value chains that we are in, right? And we can create value together because we cannot do it alone. So let's look at the fintech space. The banks are doing something. There's Paystack that's helping with collections. There's Mono HQ that's helping with KYC. All these guys are fintechs, right? But they are collaborating together because they have created an ecosystem and they have fought for their ecosystem. So I think on one end, we are ready because individually we are coming, we are creating the market. We are coming to the fore of this thing. But I think collectively, we need to come together under that PropTech umbrella and push that narrative. Do you understand? So that we can create more value in this ecosystem that we are trying to build. So yes, the government nuances and that us coming together would help us, foster this, foster the future of living in Africa, basically,
Fantastic. I think that was very succinct and very instructive. Maurice, if you'll quickly jump in, we'll take your comments on the same question.
Okay, so I agree with Tayo, actually. We're ready. So you can look at it from both sides, right? So you can look at it from the customer side and also from the industry side, so our side, right? So we need more collaboration for sure. From what we find that customers are ready to use our products, right? So we have, apart from finance+.ng, we also have newhomes.ng. We started from the MLS side of things, right? Trying to make distribution of just new properties, new homes easily available, right? So new homes are supposed to solve the what I call distribution problem, right? So developers always will build, and having off-takers. Off-take was always a big issue, right? So we try to see how do we do off-take aggregation. Doing off-take aggregation for developers will also help developers. John, are you there? Oh,
I am, please go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Off-take aggregation will also help developers raise money quicker. But what we tend to find with that platform is that we get a lot of hits on the platform. So we get a lot of hits on the platform. People really do try to buy or acquire properties like that, meaning that people are ready to do things differently, because the older industry or the older way that things are done is still fine, but younger people need a different way to interact, right? Which is really what we're all trying to do. Find a more streamlined and efficient way to get more people to do the same thing they can do with old traditional methods. So we tend to find that a lot of those people are interested in what we're doing. Do we need to collaborate more? Definitely, we need to collaborate more. We on our own side, we're doing a lot of things that we could, of course, partner with people like Tire. We could partner with you guys, even on our older platform, the New Homes platform, right? So where we typically just cater for new properties, right? If we combine with a live event, it's easier for people we deal with to also know exactly where to sort of acquire things from as well. So I tend to think that in Nigeria, we're ready for all this. We're ready to move things forward. We get a lot of applications through our online platform for mortgages. People believe in the process, people believe in the system, and people are happy to be able to get information through the platform to be able to apply for finance, which before we started doing this, it's difficult to get information, it's difficult to move the process forward. So we are ready from a fintech, prop tech, mortgage tech side, and I believe Nigerians are ready as well, but we really need to push the sector. We all need to push the sector and be able to make a bigger splash, just the way the fintech guys have, just like Tayo said.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much. So, in rounding up, I think we all agree that we're ready as a country, at least to a large extent, and a lot of stimulation still needs to come from us who are the professionals in this space to help us birth the future. And that I would take as my cue to move us to the next question, which I'll be passing to Wayne, which is, what is the future of technology in the real estate market? And I think that one of the things I'm hoping that the panelists would do with this question is to paint a picture that would more or less get us thinking about all the actions that we need to take to get us there. So in your opinion, Wayne, where do you see us in the next 5, in the next 10, in the next 20 years with technology as our partner?
So
or as our tool?
In the very short term, due to COVID, we've seen a big jump in technology adoption. I would probably say that that's the greatest influence I've seen, is that people have jumped onto Zoom and jumped onto decentralized Office, etc. And just to set that up as, just to paint the picture, what I believe is going to happen in the longer term, I think there's going to be very interesting innovations. So I'm just going to use a few interesting examples. There's Amazon Prime Air, which is actually a warehouse in the sky, which, it's an autonomous floating warehouse that has drones, and that's how it does its deliveries. So I find that that's quite interesting, because when you're considering important logistic routes, now you're going to have warehouses in the sky, and that can definitely change let's say, the demand and supply of warehousing. So I just think I'm just putting stuff that's out there. That's something that's just to sort of open people's minds up to things. Also, something quite interesting is, augmented reality and virtual reality. For those who may not know, augmented reality, a good example is Pokemon Go. Ultimately, what happens is you're taking a digital layer and you're putting it on the real world. So you use your phone and you can see sort of digital, engagements. So I find that very interesting let's talk about retail. If you're looking for a specific shop, you might be able to get a guide inside your phone to take you to that particular shop. In terms of learning, I have a friend who's an engineer, and they use a platform with augmented reality, which helps them, launch certain augmented reality modules that helps them learn about specific technical attributes on site, which is quite interesting. And then from a virtual reality perspective, that's when you're putting the headset on you. This is not exactly real estate, but it will just open up the mind, is that I believe in the future, there's going to be gaming environments with you guys sitting in Nigeria. I'm going to be sitting in South Africa. We're going to be in these virtual worlds. We're going to walk into a specific shop and we're going to buy some nice shoes, and Amazon is going to deliver your shoes to your door, and it's going to deliver to my door. So these are sort of out of the box things that I think that are happening. In a shorter term perspective and relating to COVID, I believe that contactless payments and contactless access is going to be something that becomes more and more relevant as we go along, and we're already seeing quite a bit of that in South Africa. And on the obviously, when you're considering real estate, it's territory specific. But right now, construction in South Africa, manufacturing in South Africa is not at its strongest. So we see more logistical warehouses. And this is something that I think is a trend that's going to continue, is that there's going to be certain manufacturers around the world. When I say manufacturers, there'll be countries that manufacture. And then most of the other territories or the other countries, they're going to be more focused on logistics relating to warehousing. Now, something else to consider, I'm just talking on all the future technologies, is 3D printing. What's happening now is that sometimes they are 3D printing in the store. So you 3D print your product and then you take it, so you don't have to store anything. So those are a few interesting points just to open up your mind on where I think tech and the real estate is going.
Thank you so much, Wayne. We really have to cut this session short, but I will take one last response from Tola, if you will, telling us about the future of technology in the real estate market, maybe from the perspective of what you do, and of course, your general perspective. Thank you, Tola.
So, like Wayne said, I actually, it's also real estate, right? We're literally going to be walking into virtual places, and we will still have purchasing power, right? Buying stuff. You can walk into a store, say this is what you're buying, and it's delivered to you. In relation to what we currently do, think about viewing a property that you want to rent, for instance, virtually. Creating those kind of nuances where you can go online and take like a virtual tour. It currently exists, but bringing that type of technology down here, where people don't necessarily have to walk into a property or travel to a property first before they see the property or make a decision, and they can do that online with internet and with on a web app, and make all their decisions from viewing down to finishing that transaction or deciding that they want to take up their space. I think that's, from our own perspective, I think that's where the future is at. Being able to make decisions on rental or even purchasing online, right? You want to buy a house and you can see the whole house online. Yeah, there's the issue of Nigeria and trust, but yeah, once we can bridge that trust, I believe that that's the future. Being able to purchase real estate online.
Fantastic. Permit me to say that this has been a very interesting session. I think it was worth the wait for those of us who waited for a while to be a part of this session. And we hope that we've taken a thing or two that would help us make better decisions going forward, and also enforce some of the good decisions we've made in time past to do the things we do. Thank you so much for the opportunity to have moderated this session. It's been a great privilege talking with you, Wayne. I think we'll take some of the conversations behind the camera. Same with Tola and with Maurice for all that is do. I think the future of Africa rests on our shoulders, whether we feel it directly or not. And hopefully our kids will be proud of what their daddies have done, daddies and mommies. Thank you so much. And I'll pass this over to the moderator of the main event as I sign out. Fantastic.
Thank you very much, Mr. John. Wonderful, fantastic session. Our panelists, a big thank you. Very informative, detailed, plenty to learn, plenty to run with. Thank you very much. So we're quickly going to present some awards quickly. First on the list here, we're going to be presenting the Facility Management, an award for the Facility Management Company of the Year. And our nominees are as follow: Alpha Mid Facility Management Company, Provast, Global Property and Partners, and James Corbett. And to present this award today is no other person than Mr. Sean Godoy.
Thank you very much. Yes, and thank you for the opportunity.
Very much.
So,
the winner for today.
Sorry, what was that?
Yes, Mr. Sean.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead, Sean.
Thank you very much. Yes, so thank you for the opportunity. So the first one, as just said, is Facility Management Company of the Year. And the winner is Alpamid Facility Management. So congratulations, Tim.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. This award is actually to celebrate organizations that provide best practice facility management services in Nigeria. And this goes to Alphamid. Alphamid, are we there?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. That's really nice. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, yeah. Thank you very much. A lot of thanks to the organizers of this real estate awards. The pandemic times that we are in has actually put the spotlight on facility managers across the world and their importance, not only to guarantee safety of stakeholders, but to ensure business continuity. And we at Alpha Mid Facilities, we pride ourselves with investment in technology that has enabled us to weather through the storms of the pandemic, providing continuous services to our various stakeholders across different sectors of the economy. And this award could not have come at a better time. It's recognition to hard work, it's recognition to resilience, and continuous collaboration with people of like minds. On behalf of Alphamid, the entire group, because the facility management arm of Alphamid is just a strand of Alphamid Group, that is a total real estate solutions company. On behalf of the entire group, I want to say a big thank you to the organizers. This result means more work for us because we cannot rest on our horse. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. For one more time, this is your award.
Yes.
The entire Alphamid Group. Thank you for doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, thank you.
Very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. So our next award is for the Luxury Development of the Year. This award is to recognize the project that best provides development that redefines luxury, lifestyle, and class in today's real estate market. And to present this award once again is Mr. Sean Godoy. Mr. Sean, are you there?
Yes, I am.
The nominees are as follows: Oxygen Apartments, the Pacific Lagos, and the Greenfield Island. And the winner is Mr. Sean. Over to you.
The winner is, for this exciting award, is Oxygen Apartments. And I hear the presenter gets a free.
Oxygen Apartments, yes. Apartment, are we there? Oxygen Apartments, are we there? All right. On behalf of Oxygen Apartment, receive this award and a big thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sean. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Our next award is for the Real Estate Service Company of the Year. This award is to celebrate the real estate company service company that provides innovative, round-the-clock services to further enhance the growth of industry for present and future generations. And the nominees are as follows: Alpha Mid Facility Management, Bro, CW Real Estate, North Court Real Estate. And to present this award is no other person than Mr. John. Mr. John, are you in the house?
Yes, I'm in the house. Thank you for the opportunity to be presenting this award. It's indeed, an opportunity to be here and to be presenting this as well. I'm also very, very happy because the company that is going to be receiving this award happens to be very dear to my heart. So it's with great pleasure that I will be announcing that the winner of this award is no other than the North Court Real Estate.
Whoa, North Court Real Estate once again.
Wow.
North Court Real Estate.
Wow.
Yes,
what else? What can I say? But a big thank you. I mean, first of all, to as we like to say in our company, to God Almighty, without whom we wouldn't be here, and that's for real. We've had to go through a lot. Myself, Tayo, CEO, the entire team, putting together research, going across the country, whether it's in facilities management, advisory work, just ensuring that we try to put our best foot forward at every opportunity. So we'd like to thank again Thinkmint for putting this together and for considering us worthy enough for this honor. It's something that we don't take lightly, and we want to really express our sincere appreciation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. And the final award for today is for the Property Development Company of the Year, Residential. This award is to celebrate the real estate company that has constructed a residential project with real-time value, fully recognizing the need for best practice residential development in Nigeria. And the nominees are as follows: Urban Shelter Properties, Ella Elon Construction, Brains and Armors, Periwinkle Residence, Deluxe Residence. And to present this award once again is Mr. John. Mr. John, are you in the house?
Oh, yes, I am.
And the winner is, Mr. John, over to you.
Unfortunately, I haven't been given the winner of this category.
Check our chat, Mr. John, please.
No, I don't have it. I had for the last one.
The same mail, the same message.
Okay. Give me a sec.
Same message, Mr. John. It's
no,
the second line, last line. Yeah, seen it?
I'm going to have to share this award with the winner.
All the troubles you're going through.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I have it now. And it's my delight to be presenting this award to none other than Urban Shelter.
Whoa, Urban Shelter. They almost took your award. Urban Shelter. Fantastic.
Fantastic. I think you can see it.
Urban Shelter, comments?
Yeah, wow. Well, first of all,
I'll have to take it from you, Mukhtar.
Abi?
You almost did.
Really, first of all, we graciously, humbly accept this award, this wonderful, wonderful recognition. So on behalf of, our Urban Shelter Board, the chairman, our managing director, the management as a whole, who MD always reinforces plays a role in our success. We really, truly appreciate this. We want to thank Thinkmint and Business Day, all the moderators, all the folks that we came across, we really appreciate it. And just one quick word, we would take this opportunity to pledge our drive, our acumen, our commitment to developing this wonderful nation, one project at a time. By next year, God willing, we're going to be celebrating our 30 years as a real estate company. So I extend an invite, Mr. Lawson, our dear friend, I owe everybody. We're going to invite you all for that. And once again, thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so very much, Mukhtar. I hear that the Fura do not know from that place tastes very different. And we cannot wait to actually have a huge test of that pudding.
Oh, yes. Lagos one is a replica. Authentic is down here, brother.
and if I may jump in, if you don't mind, I know I'm no longer the moderator. I think there's a lot of bad publicity where we talk about companies that are not necessarily transgenerational. And I think we don't celebrate companies like yours enough that have survived 30 whole years in a tough industry like the one we play in. I think
exactly
you deserve more than that. You deserve a round of applause from
all right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before studio, I understand that the MD is around. So he just came in. But Mr. Chedi, yesterday you were very passionate with so much in your presentation. I started becoming scared. I was scared not in a bad way, but in the sense that I saw the passion in you and how much you were driven to see exactly how this industry can be as successful as it should be. And so we're so very much glad that you were able to still make it out of your very busy schedule to still receive this award. This award must be very special. So you wouldn't mind if you and I share it, sir? Your audio, you need to unmute your audio. I keep saying unmute yourself because that is rather.
All of us at Periwinkle are really delighted, not only to be part of this experience, but to be found worthy of recognition. I'm not sure we have received an award for what we are doing. And for us to be considered for the best luxury category is something special to us. And I don't know how to start, but I tell you, I must thank my people at Periwinkle, this family. We are not old in this business, but you can see all of us here are coming with a wealth of experience from different areas of the business. And I'm not surprised that we are considered for an award because we have an elevated platform of performance, and it's credit to what we are doing. And to be considered by Business Day, I'm not sure there's any other one that is beyond Business Day in Nigeria. So it means that we are considered really the best in Nigeria.
Yeah, Mr. Chedu, point of correction is actually Thinkmint.
It's credit to what we are doing. It's credit to all of us here in Periwinkle. I must thank this Business Day.
Well, I'm basically saying that the award is Thinkmint Nigeria.
It's freezing, but
on Business Day. Okay.
Okay, it's freezing, but let's just manage.
Certainly.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you.
We can hear you, sir.
So
it's the usual,
I was saying that
technical issues, but we can hear you.
Yeah, I must say we thank you for not just business, your partners as well. I think it's Thinkmint,
Nigeria, yes,
Nigeria,
yes.
And other people who are involved in making this outing what it has become, because these are trying times, and it requires people thinking out of the box and to be ingenious to bring all of us together at this platform. And knowing that even people in diaspora are connected to this and watching what we are doing is credit to all of us. So we really appreciate this gesture. And next year, I think we want to play more role.
All right, sir. We want to say thank you because I have to pause you. If not, we might just. Thank you so very much and congratulations. We'll take you up on that. I want to say thank you to every single one of you. My name is Stephen Ipalobo Lawson, and my co-host has been Timothy Ikide. And then we will be seeing you by the grace of God tomorrow, where we're going to be talking so much. And we are holding the Periwinkle estate to Bay, as they say that next year we are going to be expecting $10 million from them to make this whole event. Anyway,
thank you so much.
Congratulations to all the awardees, and then we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you, Mr. John.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a great evening. See you tomorrow.